Welcome to the Influential Personal Brand Podcast. This is the place where we help mission-driven messengers just like you learn how to build and monetize your personal brand. My name is Rory Vaden, and I'm the co-founder of Brand Builders Group, a Hall of Fame speaker, and New York Times bestselling author. And this show is to help experts learn how to become more wealthy and well-known. I know you're going to love it. Thanks for being here. Let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Influential Personal Brand. And that is the perfect title of a podcast for the interview that I get to do today with the one and only Victoria Jackson. When we talk about influence, this is a woman who has immense influence. And I am so honored to get to know you personally and to get to know your story. And also to get to be the one to interview you today. I snatched this away from Rory so that I got to lead the interview today. But before I launch into this episode, for everyone who is listening who maybe is new to the name Victoria Jackson, let me give you a little bit of the background. And if I were to read all of her accomplishments and accolades, it would take up the entire podcast. So I'm going to give you some of what I consider the biggest highlights that stand out to me. So here are some of the things that you need to know about Victoria Jackson. First and foremost, I think this is first and foremost to me. She is the mother of 3 awesome kids. And her husband, Bill. How long have you guys been married?
32 years.
So to me, like, those are some of the best and biggest accomplishments. But she is also the founder and CEO of the global brand and infomercial giant, Victoria Jackson Cosmetics. And I think this is phenomenal because Victoria was a part of revolutionizing and dominating the entire beauty industry with her no makeup, which is just relaunched. And I want to talk about this later. It's actually, if you're watching the video today, I am wearing no makeup, and I love it. And I could go on and on about it. But as a huge part of this entire way that she launched this makeup, she was truly a pioneer with being the first to market a cosmetics line on TV with more than 11 international infomercials. And so she had a 10-year run on QVC with Victoria Jackson's cosmetic with more than 600 beauty products, generating $1 billion in sales. That's a B. $1 billion in sales. And I love that story, but I think some of the things that make up who you are just as significant. As a teen, Victoria survived a sexual assault, and she has gone on to reach out and empower women in so many different ways around the world. And then in 2008, her daughter was diagnosed with NMO, neuromyelitis optica, and was shared that she only had 4 years to live. And so Victoria, along with her husband, Bill, went on to found the Guthy Jackson Charitable Foundation, which has raised an unbelievable amount of money to fund research to help find a cure for this disease. She was nominated as into the National Women's Hall of Fame for this work. And then she was also at the Vatican, accepted as the Pontifical Key Advocacy Award for her personal work in trying to overcome and understand the rare autoimmune diseases that are in the world. She has funded a series of documentaries. She's the author of 5 books. She has a brand new book coming out that we're going to talk about later, and she is relaunching this makeup line. Woman, I do not know how you have time to do all of these things. So without further ado, everyone, and Victoria, thank you so much for being on the show. We're so excited to have you. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, AJ. Yeah, it's definitely, I like to keep myself busy. And, I think I was just, born ready. I don't know. A friend of mine said, I'm born ready. Like, I feel like I was just born ready to go and take on all the challenges and then just be a doer, and always really there to help and support women and people. I've been a goodwill ambassador in so many different ways.
Ryan, what I love too is you truly are so humble about all of it. And it would be easy for you not to be humble about all of it, but you are. And so I kind of want to just help the audience get to know you just a little bit. And so can you just tell everyone a little bit of the story of how did you get into the world of makeup? And I mean, I know the backstory. And so just pull out some of the highlights because I think it's a really phenomenal story. Because I think a lot of the people who are listening to this are trying to figure out, like, what's my next thing? And how do I go from where I am to where I want to be? And you have done that exceptionally well.
Well, I think my least favorite question always was when people would go, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Or what are you thinking about doing? And I didn't know. I didn't, as you mentioned, I had an unfortunate kind of start in life in a few different ways, but one in which really prevented me from graduating high school, from going to college. I was a victim of the pillowcase rapist in California when I was 17. And up to that point, I was always a little bit of a nervous Nelly and had anxiety. And, I don't know that I knew where I was going in life. I had a very tumultuous, unstable upbringing, parents kind of getting divorced and, just really not kind of always being able to find my feet. But one thing I did find my feet with and my hands was I liked doing makeup. I liked having my friends come over and doing makeovers on them. And even though my technique really was something that I had to perfect over time, it was just something that I liked doing. I liked, I've always had a good eye and wanted to work to, show people how they could look better. And I realized through many, many years of doing this that when you look better, you feel better. When you feel better, it allows you to go on in life to have more success, or just feeling good about yourself opens up the door to so many things. So I just started one foot in front of the other, started doing makeovers for friends and put together a makeup kit. That was the beginning.
But to go from doing makeovers on friends to $1 billion in sales is pretty radically amazing. Yeah. If there was one thing that you could look back and go, I think I did this different. I think this was unique and that others can do it too. What do you think it would be?
Well, I think for me, it's all about perseverance. In one of my books I wrote and I opened up in The Power of Rare, which is a book I wrote on cure and helping find cure for disease and how to put a blueprint together for that. But I write that perseverance is where the gods dwell. I think that what I can do and what I will always do is stay the course, that I persevere, that even though everybody told me, nobody's going to be able to buy your products. I sold them on television, that nobody was going to buy makeup on TV, that women need to see them and touch them and feel them in person. I've always taken the no and turned that around and said, well, I don't know about that. I think I can do it, and here's how. So it's just that sense of perseverance, of this constant, this resilience that just makes me move forward no matter what. And I think that's the takeaway most people get when they look at, the breadth and the depth of my career and what I've done, is that I never give up. Mm-hmm. As all the people that, you talk to and your listeners, all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there, you just have to keep going. So even though I'm saying, oh, I started by putting a kit together and doing my friends, it really was, everything was one step to the next step to the next step. And even the book that I've written now, We All Worry, Now What? Ta-da! It's really it's the step-by-step of how to zoom out, how to get perspective, how to just take that next step. And a lot of it, we think of, it's so basic, but it's the basics really are the stepping stones that get you there. It's just doing it, it's doing the work, and it's not easy. And you got to just keep moving forward, even when everybody tells you, it may not lead to that pot of gold. Everybody's pot of gold is different.
I love that. Curious, I don't know if I know this timeline from the first day that you started like professionally doing makeup. So we'll say beyond just doing makeovers, but like when you were actually doing professional makeup to when you actually had like success with these infomercials. How long was that timeline?
Oh, that was 13 years. So people think, oh, overnight success. Yeah, I was doing makeovers for 13 years. I was working in the, editorial space. So I was doing everything, a lot of the ads that you see, a lot of, at the time, magazine covers, album covers. I did about 200 album covers. I would do People magazine covers, so many, and that time is invaluable because during those 13 years, I could see, well, what kind of products do women respond to? I came up with during that time what I became known for, and still to this day, hence product number 2, no makeup. That was really something that I came up with in the 80s. And think about that, in the 80s, everybody's wearing like the shoulder pads, like, heavy glam makeup. I'm doing no makeup. So I was completely going contrary to what was happening at the time, but it was very much, and you see how timeless things can be, still holds true to this day. I mean, you have it on, you look beautiful. I want women to just not look like they have a lot of makeup on, but just feel like themselves, not use it as a mask or war paint. And so that 13 years gave me that chance to perfect really became my signature of no makeup.
I love that because I think most people listening, no offense to anyone, don't get offended. We're trying to skip all that time.
Yeah.
Right? We're trying to skip the hard work. We're trying to skip the hard years, the research years, and we're going, why isn't this working? And the truth is you've been doing it 6 months or a year. I saw this quote on Instagram a few days ago, and it just really stuck out to me. And it said, you don't have the patience to build your business in 3 years, but somehow you found the patience to work for somebody else for 40.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of sums it up. It's like, good things take time and nothing is wasted.
And I mean, honestly, those are the kinds of things you have to think about. Being an entrepreneur and being in that, there is a little bit in that secret sauce, is you have to be somebody. There are some people that they want that security and that comfort of working for somebody else for 40 years. And that's okay. That's okay, because when you're kind of, cutting that tie and you're going out solo and you're doing your thing and you're flying on your own, that's scary and that's not easy to do. So you really have to have those hard talks with yourself to see. I'm the first to encourage it, but I never shame anyone for deciding, hey, yeah, you know what, I've got the good job that I like, or the comfort, or the things that I'm familiar with, and no, that's okay. But that isn't my, spirit. I am that little warrior that is always sort of from the beginning got to explore and do and figure it out. And sure, it's a lot easier now at this point in my life, as I'm getting ready to, wait for it, turn 70. I've had a lot of life experience, and all of that has really led me to where I am now, to be able to tell my story and try to encourage people and look back at all the things that I've done and pay it forward.
Yeah. And first of all, I hope I look like you do when I turn 70. You look amazing. But I think also one of the things that you just said is one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on the show, because this is about, building an influential personal brand, and not for the sake of fame or notoriety, but for doing good and making a positive impact in the world. And in many cases, you can do that without money. And in some cases, there are opportunities for people. In your case, like, you had this abundance mentality of going, I have the money, how can I do good with it? And one of the things that I love is this idea of like taking your income and turning it into impact. And I think that's one of the things that you've done so extraordinarily well, with the success of all that you've done in business. You were able to take that and also do some really amazing things with, this charitable funding, trying to find cures for rare disease. So here are the questions I have, because a lot of people in our community, in our audience, impact is really what they're after. They have good, sustainable businesses, and they're going, but I know there's more for me than just, the revenue and P&L statements. Like, there is something in me that wants to do good. And I know that there was, kind of this life altering moment in your, life in 2008 when your daughter got diagnosed. But there was also something else in you that goes, no, I have the funds. I'm going to do something about it, because I think a lot of us have funds that we're not doing something with. So can you talk a little bit about, like, what's the path of turning your income into impact?
Well, I think you have to start earlier on the path. When I did that, as I was even in my makeup career, I was going to the jails, right? So even when I didn't have money, I was thinking, what else, what other skill set do I have that can feel like I can add value, that I can do something when I didn't have money? So I went to the jails for 20 years, and I had a Look Better, Feel Better program for women that were in jail. So I was already thinking about and wanting to give back. And even in my makeup skill set, I was doing makeovers at the hospital for patients. So, I was always already thinking and geared that way. So when my daughter was diagnosed in 2008, it was really, okay, I'm going to, as a mom, I'm going to find a cure for my daughter. I don't know what that's going to look like. As I said, I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to college. And now I'm in the world of a very complex autoimmune disease, NMO, neuromyelitis optica, which really manifests and very much looks like and misdiagnosed as an MS. People think it's MS. They're very similar. And so how am I going to learn about this, do this? And I started from that place. And then very quickly, as my daughter and I were going through this very, very difficult time, she said to me, like, this isn't just about us anymore. And then I realized it wasn't for, and we fortunately, due to our business and my husband's success in business, we put in $80 million of our own money. We never raised money. We actually put in our own money. And that was something, and we're still doing that 15 years later. We're still putting in money for a foundation that is now changed the entire landscape. And I recommend for anybody out there who's suffering with, any kind of whether it's a tough diagnosis or how to go about looking at what we did. Our story, Allie and I, is called Saving Each Other, and it's what I call my memoir, really our story. And then the power of rare, which is the blueprint of how did we actually take this money and get drugs made, because now we have 4 therapies, and my daughter is stable at this point in time. So it's kind of, I took that same thinking from my makeup days, because it was very much about, here's the makeup and then here's how to. It's very much like, here's the foundation, here's our story, and then here's how to do it. So really from like almost foundation to foundation. So it's always been for me about giving back and impact and purpose, and taking a lot of leaps of faith along the way.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's probably where I think a lot of people are struggling, of finding the balance of, like, okay, I want this to be about impact, and I need it to be about income. I have to make money at the same time. And I love what you said. It's like, there's a million ways to get back with your gifts and talents. It doesn't require money, but how do you figure out what those gifts and talents are and put them to good use?
Yeah, you just got to get scrappy and think about it. Like what's going on in your local community, and what can you do? I think the world being as nutty as it is now, and as, divisive and polarizing, all the things that are going on, it's so important to get back to community and to thinking about what can we do to support each other. Where is that kindness that we can really kind of put into every day, something that we're thinking not just about ourselves but others. I think that, and that just, you never know when you're doing that what doors open, where that leads you, because so much of it is you just don't know. Like if somebody would have told me while I was doing makeup and trying to figure that whole part of my life out, that cut to the next part of my life, I'd be actually working to cure a rare autoimmune disease, I would have never believed it. Or that I'd be at the Vatican receiving an award from the Pope, or that Gloria Steinem would be inducting me into the Hall of Fame. Like all those things would have never even entered into my consciousness. And yet they've all been an amazing part of my life that I'll always, look back on and go, wow, how did that all happen? But life unfolds in a way, and if we just keep doing the work and showing up.
Yeah. And I think that's like the heart of so much of your message. It's like, show up, do the work, keep going. What's the best next step? And
Yes.
I think a huge part of how you've been able to get back a lot of, you've written 5 books, and we've
Mhm.
got this new one that's coming out September 3rd, 2024. You guys it's on pre-sale now on Amazon. I'll put the link in the show notes, but it's called We All Worry. Now What? So
Okay.
this is the 5th book that you've written. So this is not your first rodeo, but I think it'd be worthwhile of just helping everyone know, with everything else that you have going on, there was no need for you to write books. So where did the passion for writing come from? And then I would love to specifically talk about this new book coming out.
You know what? It's all part of that sharing. There's that, I just have this very, if I can do it, because I come from a place of low self-esteem, I still am constantly working on that, which people go, really? But yes. So it's always well, oh, look, if I could do it, you can do it, and here's how. Like I did this, so you can do this too, and here's how. I'm going to just show you what I did, and take what works for you, and leave the rest. And so that's always been it. The first book was called Redefining Beauty. It was a beauty book. The second book was Make Up Your Life. So again, it was the how-to of the book, Redefining Beauty. And then Make Up Your Life was, why does it all matter? How does looking better, feeling better change? Then, the third book was Saving Each Other, which was really when my life changed in our story. And then the fourth book was, and here again is the how-to. And now this book is really all about, I've been at this point in my life, as I said, I've always been filled with anxiety and a worrier, but I've also been a warrior. So the book originally was Warrior to Warrior, but there was a few titles with that. But I also liked the universality of, like, we all worry. Worry is, we talk about stress and anxiety, but you kind of start with worry. Worry is what you like water, and it all of a sudden now has become the stress, the anxiety. So I think you're going to hear a lot more about worry. And it's kind of, now what do we do about that? So it was important to me to share my experiences.
What do you worry about?
I worry about everything. I'm a black belt warrior. So I'm really good at worry. So, I worry about my kids. I worry about, why are people so angry these days? I worry about, I still don't love to travel. So what's great about me writing this book is, it's not like I write it like, oh, I'm cured. I don't have worry anymore. No, I still worry, but it's manageable now. Now I really use these steps to sort of like zoom out, get perspective. And what's also great in the book, I was very intrigued, how do other people navigate it? So I asked these extraordinary women that all open each chapter, and men. I have Jay Shetty in there as well. But Maria Shriver, Kris Jenner. Okay, we think about the Kardashians. So what are they worrying about, or what's going on? Kris Jenner, very religious. How does she start her day with, faith every day? How does she bring her family together? Gloria Steinem, Jane Fonda, what does she worry about? There's so many interesting things that I was learning from what women not only worry about, but how they navigate it. So I wanted to put all that together. And again, it's my offering to people out there on how, in a world of a time where there's so much we worry about, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you don't worry. My life is fantastic. I mean, I am so blessed and so lucky. And at the same time, we've worked really hard, and I make sure to give back, but there's still worry.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. It's a universal, doesn't matter how much or how little you have, there is worry, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? The magnitude of the worries are different with each stage of life, but we all do that. So I'm curious to know a little bit about your writing process, because so many people who are listening to this podcast, they do have a calling on their life like you have. It's like, I feel called to put this on paper and turn it into a book. And so I would love to hear from you. It's like, how did you go about deciding what the book should be about? And I think, if I recall, you handwrite, right?
I handwrite. I mean, I'm so old school. That is part of being old. I'm old school. I like, I have my little pad of paper and I just write stream of consciousness thought. I talk, I'll talk it out into a recorder. And I just did the audio version. This is the first time on this book that I actually did the audio version. And I have to say that was an experience in itself as well, reading it all back to yourself, because a lot of times when I'm writing, I'm not always reading it back as much as I think I am until I've really finished the book and I was like, wow. But it's just I think writing a book is really tough. It's really frustrating for me at times. I struggle with it. I'm lucky. I can never take full credit. I have people that have helped me in my writing, because I'm very insecure in that I grammatically will think, oh, wait, do I need to put a period here at the end of this sentence? Or should that be a comma? Or, I can get so stuck on the stupid little things, that it's been helpful for me when I've been able to sit with somebody and go like, okay, these are the big points of what I really want to say and get across. And again, it's just doing it. It's just doing it. Like I could have used that as an excuse. Well, I'm not really good at writing. Da, da, da. You have people that support you or help you, or, it takes me longer than most people to write a book, but I still managed to put out 5 of them, versus there's a lot of people that talk about it, think about it, never do it.
Yeah.
You just gotta do it.
Yeah. And I love that because it's like, and I love that you handwrite. Like, I think that's incredible. And I think that's just a testament for everyone listening. It's like, there's no right way to write a book. Talk it out on audio, handwrite it in a notebook, work with a coach, have a ghostwriter, hire an editor, like whatever it is, just do it.
Just do it. And then make sure it's true to you. I mean, that's when I felt really good, was when I was reading back the book and I went, this is absolutely true to me. This is honest. This is true. This is real. This is helpful. This is what I want to impart to people. So that's really important because I genuinely care.
Yeah, I know you do. Why a book on worry? So what was it about this particular topic that compelled you to write a whole book about it?
Because that's been the theme of my life. I mean, worry is, I'm a warrior. Like I said, black belt warrior. So that's what I wanted to work about, because worry, stress, anxiety can so blanket your life to a point where, I was able to always have that right there, but I still been doing things, kind of a contrast, a real contradiction in terms. Like I've been really crippled with it, but at the same time, I've also accomplished a lot, but it's always been the weight that I've carried. And as we say in the book, worry weighs more when you carry it alone. So building that support system. So I really wrote about worry because it's been the thing that I've struggled with more than anything, the stress, the anxiety, the panic attacks. So I just thought that if something that I'm going to leave behind, besides, in addition to the part of my life where I was telling you how to make your lips fuller and your eyes bigger, I was also going to tell you how to navigate worry. And then, I might throw in how to think about getting a drug made and a therapy too. It's all part of my sharing of my life experiences along the way. I mean, it's really, you can kind of just look at it and go, yep, she did this. Then she taught us how. She did this. Then she shared that. Then she's always been a warrior. She's showing us how to be a warrior.
That's good. Who would you say, for everyone's listening, like who would you say this book is really for?
I think it's for everybody. I really do. You look at these books now that are out, like the anxious generation, and with where we are in social media, I mean, everybody's affected one way or another. I mean, young people are worrying about everything to do with their friends and how they look, and there's so much that young people now, and because of social media, which I didn't grow up with the way it is now, I think it's just, there's so much more anxiety and stress. So even if they're not sitting down and reading every page of my book, there's something that they'll be able to take away from, like something that's actually doable. So do we really know too many people that are, short of like little kids, that are not worried or stressed or anxious these days? Sadly, I don't, I've got little grandkids, so at 6 and 8, I hope they're not dealing with too much anxiety. But when you read these books now that are so much, it starts pretty early. So I write something just like I do my makeup. People always say, well, what's your makeup geared for? Oh, you've got skin. This is your makeup. I'm not putting it at a over 40 person. I'm not, I like the idea of no makeup for everybody to just look natural and look like themselves. So I think more universally, I guess is what I'm saying ultimately.
Well, I do believe, worry is a universal problem we all struggle with. Like I could probably make a list of at least 10 things that I've worried about today
Yeah.
since I woke up just a few hours ago. And so one quick thing about the book, and then I would like to talk about no makeup in the last few minutes that we have. But if you were to say, if you consider yourself somebody who really struggles from worry, like if there was one thing from the book that you're like, I don't care if you don't get anything else from this book, if you just left with this one thing, I know it would help you, what would it be?
It's taking action. That even in the face of worry, even in the face of your massive anxiety, that you still have to do something to take that next step. So to me, yes, it's okay to fall apart and be stressed out and have that moment, but you have to then like not sit in that. You have to take that walk in nature or make that phone call you're afraid of. Everything, there's that saying, everything is amazing that's on the other side of fear. It's really working to get to that other side of fear, and to get anywhere close to that other side of those amazing things that can be on the other side, you've got to just take the next step. So it's just doing something, whatever it is, when you're in that moment of like paralysis and you're worried to the point of not being able to do, that you've got to just do something. And sometimes that's just walking outside and, going around the block, something to shake it up. I know it sounds so basic. You're like, that's it, Victoria? It's like, yeah, sometimes that's it. Because in that moment, you clear your head enough to sort of let the next thing in, and the next thing, and the next thing.
That's good. Quick personal question. Is there anything that you can say like, hey, this is something that I fear that I haven't yet done that I know I need to do to take action on?
Yeah, I mean, for me, travel has always been sort of my like little bugaboo. Like, I don't love a lot of movement. I say this as a person who's moving all the time. Probably like going to some exotic traveling will be what I've got to sort of go, okay, you can do it. I didn't fly for so many years, 35 years. I didn't fly as a result of claustrophobia, and I still struggle with that. So I think for me, that will be my continued kind of, eat, love, pray moment of going out, in the wild, and just wherever that is, just out of my comfort zone.
Mm. Yeah, I asked because I was just sitting here thinking as you were talking about like, what are the things that I know I need to take action on, but there's some amount of worry or fear that is preventing me to move forward. And I just know that if you struggle with that, if I struggle with that, everyone's listening. We all struggle with something like that. And, Rory and I have had these conversations in our house a lot here lately. And I think one of the things that we fear is like, man, like how much of what we really think should we share? And I think there's a real fear of not wanting to come across as judgmental, but also feeling compelled to share an alternative view or one that maybe isn't as popular or as common. And I think there's a lot of that fear of cancel culture, which has a lot of people who have thoughts and opinions afraid to talk.
Yeah. No, it's very real. It's all part of what creates the stress and the anxiety, is because people are afraid to just be themselves. But I think that there's a way to do it if you do it with kindness, where the problem is there's so many people that are doing it with so much hate or bitterness or, anger, and that's always hard. And then other people are afraid to just say anything because of afraid of the judgment. I've always tried to be as authentic and real, and I may have opinions that other people don't like, and they're just mine, and it's like, take it or leave it. And I'm very, if people are not like doing harm to somebody else, and some people politically believe this and some people believe that, and somebody was pro-abortion, somebody's pro-life, like, I just take it all in, and, you try to have conversations as civilly as you can and listen to other people. There's that level of respect at times that we've all lost a little bit. And I think you just have to get back to that, and not worry so much about not being able to just have conversation and be yourself. I think that's important. You hate to lose that, because that's kind of really where the magic is, because that's where we're authentic to who we are.
Totally agree. And back to, it's like we all have worry at some level. So what are we going to do about it? So again, we all worry. Now what? Coming to a bookshelf near you very, very soon. Again, I'll put the show notes or the link in the show notes, but you can pre-order it now on Amazon, pick up a copy, buy one for yourself, buy one for a friend. And before we go, I also want to talk about this relaunch of No Makeup Makeup. And as I mentioned earlier, I am wearing it today and I love it. I think it's amazing. One, I love that it's in a little compact and it's so creamy, because I'm usually putting my makeup on the go. I can do it in the car. Not that I should be doing that while driving, but what inspired this relaunch?
For me, I mean, I was always in the lab creating product. As I said, I made about 600, and it's really fun working with color and pigments and coming up with a great product. So I am a formulator at heart. I love it. And my foundation, when I first launched No Makeup Makeup many years ago, was my hero product, my number one product. And so I wanted to bring it back, but bring it back in a new, clean, vegan, like just an amazing formula. I was not going to launch anything until I had like what I thought is the perfect foundation. That's what this is. It comes in 13 shades, and I love it. I mean, it's so easy for me to sell it because I'm like, I love it. I think since I've launched, just in the last month, we've had 2 returns. I mean, like, people love it. So that's what I wanted to just get back into, kind of back where I started, the whole No Makeup Makeup. And I own the trademark. I trademarked that in the 80s. So it's just a message that's still true. It's timeless. So I wanted to make just a fantastic product, and I've done that, and it's nomakeupmakeup.com, and people can check it out. And yeah, I love it.
Or, that's the thing about building something that's evergreen and timeless. And now it's getting introduced to a whole new generation of people like me who wasn't wearing makeup in the 80s. And again, I think one of the things that I love is just a great reminder for all of us is that, it's never too late to start, and it's never too late to restart.
Yeah.
And that's so much of what I love about you. It's like, I mean, if I can do it, why not? We can figure it out.
Why not? And I mean, even in makeup, it's sort of like, it's pretty easy. Like, this comes with a brush, and it's start at your jawline, match your color, you're in. It's makeup. If you don't like how something looks, you wash it off. Like, I try to get women off the hurdle of, they get so in their head sometimes, not just women, and we get stuck, that even when I was doing my makeup for so many years, which with us how-to, it was just like, here's how you do it. And it doesn't matter. Like, people go, well, what if, do I need to start with my eyes first and then my lips? I'm like, at the end of the day, we just care how it looks like when it's all done. So I just want to create products that make you feel good and look like yourself and not wear a mask. So there will be other products that follow this, but right now it's no makeup, just the foundation for beautiful skin.
Well, I can attest. It's feels good on, looks good on. I think the feel of makeup is really important to me. And this, it doesn't feel like I have anything on. I really love it. What I love too is that, this whole idea of like people think all the time, I have to create something new. And it's like, no, you don't. You can just take something that I already had and just make it better.
Better, improve it. Yeah. That's the good thing. Technology's changed, and I took what was an original formula and I just improved it, manyfold. So, and you look beautiful.
Thank you. And I think for everyone listening, it's like when you think, oh, I have to write this whole new book or I have to build this whole thing. No, you don't. You can take what you have and revise it. And
It's taking that next step. It's just doing it. There's talking about it's great, but then you just gotta do it. And it's always work. So you gotta just be ready to do the work. And that's honestly, like I said, it's simple, it's basic, but and people are listening, trying to always find what are the magic words you're gonna say. Sometimes it's just you gotta get uncomfortable, you gotta do it, and you gotta work to find what's on that other side of, for me, fear. And there's pretty amazing things.
All right, last question. And I know that we're running out of time here, but you mentioned this earlier that you're about to turn 70. And so I want to know what's next for you. Like,
you know what? That's the great part. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe you and I will be talking in 5 years, 10 years, and you'll go, you did what? I don't know. Maybe I'll be laying by a pool, in 10 years from now. I haven't had that opportunity yet. I've been doing for so long. I don't know. I think that's part of it, is to go into this as now I, have grandkids. My kids are getting older. It's seeing what that, I don't want to sound all like old and sleepy, but I don't know what's coming up next. I think I'm the kind of person that just puts it out there, and then I'm going to see what comes from the book that I have written. Who am I going to hear from? Who am I going to meet as I go further down the road with my cosmetics? That's kind of what's so cool. You don't know. You just got to put it out there to even know what's coming next.
And I love the mystery and the adventure and all of that. Because the truth is, if we had never put out what we were doing, our paths would have never crossed.
Yeah.
And you just never know, but you got to put it out there. You got to do the work. And I love too of going, just enjoy the beautiful mystery of just not knowing, but do the work, keep moving, and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Victoria, thank you so much for coming on. And everyone, just one more time, her book is coming out very soon, September 3rd. Pre-order now on Amazon. We all worry, now what? And her makeup is relaunched now, available now at nomakeupmakeup.com. And if Victoria, if anyone wants to just follow you personally, where's the best place to send them?
Oh my gosh. Probably Instagram. You can, the original Victoria Jackson, I believe, is where we are. I'm so not in the world of social media. You'll all help me as we go along on this journey. But yes, you'll be able to follow me.
Okay, well, that's what's next for Victoria, social media. That's it. That's
very true.
I'll put the handle, the official Victoria Jackson. I'll put that in the show notes. Thank you so much. Loved having you on today. Love getting to see you and talk to you. And everyone else, stay tuned for the recap, which will be coming up next. And we'll see you next time on The Influential Personal Brand.